Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It's about that time. Bringing to the WAPJ studio airwaves, ladies and gentlemen, it's the man, it's the myth, it's the legend, it's the man who makes you want to jump up and down and scream and shout. Without further ado, T-Boz, bringing it to you right here on another episode of the Feel Good Show. Good morning, sir.
Grazing in the grass to groove. Sorry we're late, boys and girls, but I was just dancing with this. What is your name, ma'am? I was dancing with Linda up here. Jock knows I love that song. And Jock has a fabulous jazz show on Wednesday, along with Pedro at 4 o'clock on Tuesday and Mark Allen Hart on Sunday at 7. If you like jazz, WAPJ is your place. But Jock will play the jazz version, instrumental of Grazing in the Grass. You don't hear the vocal. So he and I were just saying what a cool tune that is, and that's why we're late. Plus, Willie, 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 don't go home. The last time I heard that, now I'm going through puberty again, but it's five guys in the Baptist Church. They're all laughing. Thank you, everyone, for coming in. Yes, a different kind of puberty, boys and girls. Good morning, Mr. Williams, and thank you for what a fabulous introduction. I think we should end the show now and just come over for cake. Good. Don't tell John Ramsey we're having this much fun. Okay. Good morning, everyone. There's still a couple of people coming in. Thank you again, Linda. You're a good swing dancer. Thank you so much for that. And we do have the men's group from the Friendly Baptist Church right over here on the corner, where Main Street, actually, I've learned after 23 years, turns into the Winstead Road. I always said that Lowe's is on Main Street. No wonder people got lost. Anyway, so they're here. And the usual, there's Dave and Silva in the back. Miriam's here with her granddaughter because she's homeschooled. And so the usual group. And, of course, we have the guys. We're going to get to them in a minute. But first, before I get rolling, quick shout-out to Vega's Latin Cuisine. They're brand new, as Ed Sullivan used to say, right over there on Water Street. Forgive me, I don't know the number address, but it's right there. And, folks, these people are not complaining about the Torrington taxes, and it's still the cheapest place to live in Connecticut. They're not talking about the tariffs. They're building a business, what Rush Limbaugh used to call rugged individualism. And they're providing jobs for people who will eventually get started in the workforce and maybe, build their own business or buy a house and all of that. And they're having faith in Torrington. And so I applaud these people for bringing culture to our town, for bringing another great eatery for all of us to go to, and then to build their dreams of long. When you start a business, it's not just for your own pocketbook. You actually build the pocketbooks of other people. And so business is good, and I applaud them. Vega's Latin Cuisine. You know what's better than hope, boys and girls? Cash. So go there, buy something, just like the little Spanish bakery. These people are... The Spanish Bakery has 7 stores throughout Connecticut, so they're not worried about the Connecticut taxes either, but they're building and they're positive, and I'm sure the place is great. Lady Diane and I will have to make that one of our stops. So good luck to them and very many, many years in business. George by the door, could you just turn up the air conditioning a little bit? So it got a little stuffy in there the last couple of days. Thank you. He's still handing out pens and pencils, which is great. And let's get over to the guy who keeps me flowing. Jock does the music, but Stan does the coffee. And there he is in his summer attire, flip-flop shorts and a tank top. And the tank top says WAPJ. So, Stan, what do we have in that beautiful coffee pot today? Really? Cinnamon dolce, which means sweet in, I think, Spanish or Italian. Cinnamon dolce syrup, medium roast. Oh, the cinnamon, you could smell it all the way over to where Jock is over there in the big window, WAPJ. Actually, you could smell it by the corner of Water Street and Main Street. We have on the dessert table yogurt, croissant, and Jell-O, because it's warm out. Wow. Red, who made that? Oh, Peggy did. Oh, wow, great. They'll have to thank her. Beautiful Jell-O, croissants, and good cold stuff for a warm day. And who is our sponsor, Stan? What Torrington business is sponsoring this fabulous dessert table? None other than Royal's Garage. They've been in business 48 years. Glenn Royal just headed up the big car show downtown. They're car enthusiasts. His brother JR, they started 48 years ago. They were in their 20s. And they have a fabulous business there. And their father was a wonderful person. I knew the mother. And great brothers in business. They haven't killed each other yet, so that's good. So we applaud them. We thank them, Stan, for doing the dessert table, refreshment table. You can go up whenever you want, Friendly Baptist guys, whenever. And then during the break, and then at the end of the show, Jock will be over to sign autographs and answer questions, all that. Speaking of questions, we have a new feature here, Jock. The audience asks a question, and so, George, you got the microphone. Can you take it to someone waving their hand in the back? Yes, sir. What is your question? Just tell George. Okay. Do I do public appearances for churches, civic groups, and organizations? We are not a lot. We don't promote what we do. So if you have questions like that, see George either at the break or after the program, and he can help you with that. But thank you for that question. Next question. Am I excited about the wedding or nervous? I'm not nervous. I'm excited. 1,230 hours till August 30th, and I am counting. I am thrilled. I feel like I'm 20 years old. Lady Diana are planning. Everything is falling into place, and I am a very blessed man to have God bring such a wonderful woman into my life for me to go on the rest of the journey with her, and I can't wait. So thank you for that. One last question. Oh, this young lady up front, and I'm 67 years old. Okay, there you go. So those are the questions. Feel free next week if you guys have some questions about the program, why we pick topics, whatever. It's open season. George, thank you for running the microphone around and the air conditioning. All right, let's get over to our format. What I did this week, communication, as Jock was talking. And what I did is I went back to two of the Beatitudes from 2 weeks ago. Okay, so we're going to piggyback on those because those are going to be the genesis, if you will, for what I'm going to talk about today. So we're going to use those as our springboard, and then we're going to get into communication. And what I've done, and I have to thank my friend Catherine, whose son is our IT guy, who brought this to my attention a couple weeks ago. So we have different scenarios set up, supported by scripture and famous people and my own thoughts about dealing with people in terms of conversation and relationships. Okay, and so that's what the program is about today. And like I always say, you, me, we, I'm not here telling you that I have everything perfect. I don't. But I learned through this program, and I hope you all learn as well, and we go out and build a better world. So let's jump over a quick review of the two Beatitudes that I think build this. The first one, it was, blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. What's interesting in that, boys and girls, what Jesus says is, blessed are the peacemakers. He doesn't catalog. He doesn't say, blessed are the Catholics, blessed are the conservatives, blessed are the liberals, blessed are the Democrats, blessed are Republicans, blessed are all those things that we cut ourselves into, those little pieces, right? He doesn't say that. The only category he gives is blessed are the peacemakers. And so when we're dealing with people and communicating, is that at the core of our belief? And then he goes on to say, for they will be called children of God, not servants of God. That was revolutionary at the time because people thought gods were mean and evil and they were subservient to their gods. But here Jesus says a peacemaker will be called a child of God, just like you talk about your grandchildren, your children. The other beatitude I feel is a good springboard for what we're going to talk about today is from Matthew chapter 5, verse 8. And the beatitude says, blessed, or you could use the word happy, blessed are the pure in heart. Wow. Blessed are the pure in heart. When we're communicating, we're going to see something in a minute. We're relating. Okay, we're talking to people. Are we pure in heart or are we malice at heart? Okay. Are we pure? Do we have other people's interest above our own? And then he goes on to say, for the blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. And if some of you believe in a higher spirit, a power, an energy force, a vibe, something big and great and beautiful, then you can see that. But these two Beatitudes I pulled out from the 8, I think are basis for what we're going to talk about today. So what's our first quote of the day? We're going to start with Proverbs. You're all going to love this. A fool, they use the word fool even all those years ago. A fool takes no in understanding, okay, but only in expressing his own opinion. Bing, opinion, bang, opinion, boom. And don't go running and saying your brother-in-law. We're here to help ourselves, right? So a fool is not interested in understanding. How many of us, when we're speaking with people and we're talking with people, whether in the workplace, and Jock did something in town yesterday where they were talking about relating to each other. And I love what it says, a fool. How many people are only interested in their own opinion, but they're not interested in understanding? And I want all of you guys to write the word understanding down, those of you in the classroom and those of you at home. Right? Because that's going to come up again and again and again and again. Okay? So Proverbs from thousands of years ago says we're not just supposed to be about our own opinion. Okay? That's a fool. But a wise man believes in understanding. When we're speaking to each other, now these are three things you want to keep in mind. Is it the truth? Is it the truth? Okay, or is it your idea? The next thing is it necessary, what we're going to say? Now, we're not saying don't tell the truth, don't lie, but is it necessary? And I use that one a lot, and I'll tell you that in a minute. Is it necessary? And then when we're speaking, is it kind? Boom, bang, boom. Is it necessary? Sometimes are there things that you really have to say? Remember we were kids, silence is golden. Sometimes there are things you can leave out of the conversation. Say to yourself, what I'm going to say to this person, maybe about their brother-in-law, maybe about their kid, maybe about their job, maybe about their business, maybe about Torrington. Is it necessary? And then follow it up with, is it kind? Too many of us today, I hate to say it, we don't converse. We just shout our own opinion and our own views. Okay? It's okay to have your opinion. It's okay to have your views. All right? But in communication, which like the word communion as one, we need to move back and forth. We need to say, as Proverbs says, to understand what the other person is saying, and then to see what we're saying is truthful, is it necessary, and is it kind? Tony Robbins, the great speaker, says this: okay, I love that. That's another good word. The way we communicate with others the way we communicate with others and ourselves, okay, can improve the quality of our lives. So the way we communicate, not shout at people, the way we communicate with others and ourselves, what are we telling ourselves? We could do a whole show on self-talk. You know, do we tell ourselves aggravating things, then we end up expressing aggravating things. So the way we communicate with others and ourselves can improve the quality of our lives. We're always trying to improve the quality of who? Their lives, because they don't know what they're doing and they're not right, and we're going to show them and we're going to stand here and all of that, right? So as we communicate, if we say things that are truthful and what is necessary and what is kind, then guess what? We're the recipient of that. The quality of our lives, right? This show is about improving the world around us. But Tony Robbins is saying, as we're good with the world around us, guess what? Boomerang comes back and our lives become improved. Here's our first situation, our first dialogue, okay? It says, be soft on the news and hard on the problem. Boom. What do they mean by that? Your granddaughter maybe got pregnant out of wedlock. Your son drops out of college. He's only 10 credits from graduating, okay? Your son-in-law takes your daughter and your grandchildren and moves to Alaska, okay? You're not happy with that, okay? So there's situations that come in our lives. Maybe a grandson, a son, or a wife, admits to drug addiction or alcohol addiction, right? So it says, be soft on the news, compassion, right back to Proverbs, understand, don't be a fool and give your own opinion, but then be hard on the problem, support the person, find ways where they can get help, try to come up with ways where maybe if they're moving to Alaska, you can work out ways to see the grandchildren, if that's your thing. If that granddaughter is pregnant out of wedlock, find how you can support that child and bring that baby into life and those types of things. That's what they mean by be hard on the problem. Don't be hard on the problem. Say, well, you got yourself pregnant. No, that's not speaking kind. But look at the problem, find areas in life of the community or support groups that can help with that. So there's one of our first dialogues. How do we handle situations like that? Ralph Nichols says this, now remember the word understanding, boys and girls, the ladies nodding. Ralph Nichols says this, Ralph G. Nichols, if you're writing notes. The most basic of all human needs, the basic of all human needs, over food and water, is the need to be understood. And to understand them, what we need to do is listen. Boom. Communication is not about talking. Relating is not about talking, but it's about listening. Listening to the other person. Listening to the problems that they have. Okay? And it goes right back to Proverbs where it says a fool does not take any pleasure in understanding. He just wants to put his own opinion, which is what a lot of us do. But our speaker here, Ralph Nichols, says the basic human need is to be understood. And isn't that true? Aren't we all wanting someone to listen to us, especially when we go through tough times? We just want someone to listen. We want to know that someone cares. Are we truthful? Are we saying things that are necessary? Are we saying things that are kind? Speaking of saying things, Jock would like to say the sponsors.
Yes, indeed. I sure would. And thank you for reserving your time. We would like to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors for allowing us to bring you the quality community radio programming that you're hearing at this time. And we want to encourage each and every one of you to take the opportunity to participate and contribute to your local community radio station. Thursdays, it's our local and live segment where you can call in and let us know your events or activities that are taking place, or if you just want to gab a little bit, get something off your chest. Thursdays is the day to do so right here at your local community radio station, WAPJ. So we hope that you enjoy the show. And with that being said, we'll resume our weekly segment, Words of Wisdom and Moments of Meditation with T-Boz.
Thank you, Jock. And actually, Words of Wisdom started as a call, actually a quick little visit to the studio years ago, and was a little 5-minute spot. And look what this turned into. So if you have something, please take advantage of what Jock just said on Thursdays. Here's a statement. Communication, I love this word, is a bridge to understanding. Isn't that amazing? Remember our prayer of St. Francis we did last year? He said, give me the ability, Lord, to understand rather than to be understood. Sometimes when people are in the thicket, we want to get in there with our ideas, our opinions, as Proverbs says. But St. Francis asked God to be the ability to understand rather than be understood. So this statement says that communication really is not about talking. It's not about saying all the time what you feel and giving advice. It's about listening, and it builds a bridge. You can still walk away, boys and girls, with your own beliefs, okay? You can still walk away with your own view of things. But a bridge, think of a bridge. It doesn't bring the island right up next to the mainland. The island is still the island. The mainland is still the mainland. But you can get to both without harm by what? A bridge. And that's what communication, healthy communication that is truthful, necessary, and kind. We move down to our next little piece of dialogue, and it says, pretend everyone was sent to teach you something, okay? So in your daily life, as you're meeting people that are different, pretend that everyone was sent to teach you something. If you look at someone as a teacher, then you'll value what they say, you'll value how they feel, and you'll be able to respond better. Instead of thinking that someone was sent to harm you, they're meant to teach you something. And even though people are different opinion and people are different walks of life and color and religions, you can always walk away learning something. I have a lot of people listening to this program. They're not Catholic. They're not believers. They're not Protestant. They're not whatever. But when they call me in or they send a text, we have a little discourse, we both walk away with a much bigger view of the world and of ourselves and of other people. Here's another thing that all of us should practice, another piece of dialogue. Disagree without making it personal. And that's so hard to do because we really care about some things, right? Really care about tradition. We really care about our faith. We care about our country. We should be unified in that. But we care about those things. And it's very hard not to make those things personal. But if we go with what we started with, be truthful and necessary and kind, if we go back to our beatitude, blessed are the peacemakers, if we go back to our beatitude, blessed are the pure in heart, then we can have a conversation with someone and we can keep it from being personal. I personally, here's the three things I love to talk about: religion, politics, and money. Now, whose mother told you not to speak about that? But if you use these tactics that I'm talking about today, you can engage in very interesting conversation rather than just saying, it's going to rain today, it's going to rain tomorrow, those kinds of things, all right? So try not to make it personal. St. Mother Teresa has a great backup for that, and she says, a person's success in life, now she's not Tony Robbins, right? A person's success in life can usually be measured by the number of uncomfortable conversations that they are willing to have. Bing, bang, boom. That they are willing to have. In other words, we have free will, right? If you're willing to say, I'm going to have an uncomfortable conversation, something that's maybe going to either expand me or it's going to make me a little irritable, doesn't matter. But your success, St. Mother Teresa says, is your ability to willingly get into uncomfortable conversations. That's how you grow. If you stay in the corner with your arms folded saying, this is me, that's it, you're going to lead a very empty life. I don't normally tell people things, but that's the truth. All right? This program has grown, and it attracts people from all sides of the aisle, all kind of religions. You know why? Because we're open. We accept ideas. We talk about ideas. We walk away shaking hands. So St. Mother Teresa is right. People who are willing, in other words, not forced, but by your free will, say, yeah, I'd like to talk about that. You know, we should change the mantra of this show. Instead of be yourself, everyone else is taken. It should probably be fix your own faults because everyone else's faults are taken. And a lot of times what we're trying to do in a conversation is fix someone's thing. What does Jesus say? How can you talk about the speck in my eye when you've got a 2x4 in your own? So we want to see clearly. So before we try to fix people, let's go back to listening to people. Let's build that bridge of understanding. Let's not be the fool with our own opinion. Let's realize the greatest need is understanding. And that, as Tony Robbins says, we can improve the quality of our lives, which is what we're trying to do here. And it's a good sense. Let's look at another piece of dialogue, and it says this. It says, let silence do the heavy lifting. Bing, boom, bang. Let silence do the heavy lifting. I've been through some stuff in life. And sometimes it's just the person who sits there and says absolutely nothing that gets me the most strength. St. Paul tells us in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 25, therefore, you should put off any falsehood and speak truthfully. We are all one body. Whether we're Caucasian, African American, Japanese, Asian, American Indian, California, New York State, it doesn't matter, Italian, we're all one body. We have families, we have parents, we have kids, we have neighbors. At the end of the day, boys and girls, we all pretty much want to gather, have some fun, make a couple of bucks, and reach out and help some other people along the way. So hold off any falsehood, all right? And so silence, before we start jumping in there with our own opinion, let silence do the heavy lifting. I love that. When someone comes to you, be there for them. And we see that here in Psalm 46, verse 10. And this is one of the most quoted scripture verses in the Bible. And it says, be still and know that I am God. Be still. It doesn't say jump and do something and go buy something and all that. Be still and know that I am God. What people want from you when they're in the thicket, they're communicating with you, is to be there. Right? Lady Diana and I are having close to 100 people at the wedding. They don't have to say anything to us, but just the fact that they are there, that they will be there. That's the expression of love. Let silence do the heavy lifting. We did this little exercise years ago, and we take this verse and we go front to back and we leave off a word. So it goes, be still and know that I am God. Then you say it again. You say, be still and know that I am. Be still and know. Be still. And then be. Just be. Be yourself. That's what people want when they're in a tough problem or even with joy. They want you to be there. Are we being or are we telling? Or are we beating people into the ground? Communication is a bridge. Understanding is the key to that bridge. Here's another piece of dialogue. Make people feel important. You could use two techniques. SHR, they call it seen, heard, remember. So remember what people say to you. Take an active, if you're really listening, you remember that they told you that they bought a 75 Vega years ago, and it was the ugliest car around. But all kidding aside, and see what they're talking about. Another technique is feel, felt, found. Gee, Marianne, I know how you feel. I felt the same way. But what I found, that just puts down all the barriers. It puts out all the fires. Feel, felt, found, or seen, heard, and remember. Oh, I heard that, Mike, and that really touched me. I remember when you said your grandson got a home run at Little League. I mean, communication is remembering, listening, and having empathy and compassion for the other person. Be still and know that I am God. Simon Sinek says this, there's a difference between listening and waiting for your turn to speak. Boom. There's a difference. Are we listening? Blessed are the peacemakers. Or are we waiting for our turn to talk? Blessed are the pure in heart. These Beatitudes really are the core of what we're talking about today. Are we listening or are we just waiting for our turn to speak? Right? We just can't wait to get in there. Boys and girls, you got to have patience with people. You have to have compassion when you're communicating. You have to want to build that bridge. You want to at least understand where they're at. And in that workplace, in that school place, on that team, in that business, in that new restaurant in town, in that car show, as we're walking around, we can build a peaceful world, each person at a time. using techniques that are not combative, using techniques that are loving. Going right back to our initial statement, is what we're saying truthful? Is what we're saying necessary? Okay? And what we're saying, is it kind? Blessed are the peacemakers. I want to live and be a peacemaker. You know what? When I die, I want someone to get up to that podium and say, T-Boz was a peacemaker and T-Boz is pure at heart. I don't care if they tell them that I was Italian descent, I grew up in Long Island, that I was Catholic. I don't care about all of that. I want someone to get up there and say, T-Boz was a peacemaker. That's the category I want to be in. T-Boz was pure in heart. And how do I get that way? How do I do that? I do that by not always putting my opinion in someone's face. I recognize the plank in my eye before I talk about the speck in theirs. Okay? I use things like feel, felt, sound. The last piece of dialogue before you get to the takeaway, what am I meant to learn? When you're engaged in a dialogue with someone, even if you don't agree, when you walk away, say to yourself, hey, yo, you, what was, upside the head, because I'm from Long Island. What were you meant to learn from this conversation? St. Francis of Lola has a thing that at the end of the day, go through a checklist and say, was I kind to people? Did I disturb someone? Did I say something I shouldn't have? Did I hurt someone? So it's an end of the day review so that the next day you get it better. Okay, so it's the same thing with this. Is what am I meant to learn? Sometimes if you're a conservative, you have some liberal friends, you're meant to learn something from that. And vice versa. If you're a liberal person, you have some conservative friends. You can walk away maybe learning from that. You could be a Met fan, a Yankee fan. Learn from that. Look at every experience in life, like Thomas Jefferson said, you never stop learning. Look at every experience as learning, okay? As learning something. And then by that way, you grow as an individual. You become more, right? And go right back to Tony Robbins about the way we speak to ourselves and others. We improve the quality of our own lives. Isn't that amazing? We can give ourselves a gift by gifting to other people understanding, respect, patience, being soft on the news, hard on the problem, right? Let silence do the heavy lifting. These are good techniques. Next week, we're going to be doing some more. Let's get to the takeaway, and it's from John chapter 18, verse 38. And Jesus is standing in front of them, and he's about to send him to be crucified. And Pilate, the biggest question in the Bible, says, what is truth? What is truth? Because he's perplexed at this point. He doesn't know what to do with this rabbi who hasn't done anything to be murdered, right? What is truth? He asked Jesus. So my question to all of you in the classroom and listening on air, what is truth? What is your reality of truth when you're working with other people, when you're dealing with other people? Maybe you're a supervisor, manager, your kids, right? You're a scout leader, coach, whatever. What is truth for you, okay? Are you the peacemaker and the pure of heart? Is that your truth, or is your truth something else? What is truth to you? And I want you not to answer that today, but to take that with you this week as you're going through your day. And when you all come back in the classroom next week, we'll continue on with more of this communication skills and way of doing things. So I just want to thank everyone for coming in today and filling up the classroom. And just a fabulous, fabulous group of people here today. Thank you, the Friendly Baptist Church. You guys really filled up the back there. Thank you for the questions. George, thank you. Marianne and research, thank you. Stan, great job with the coffee pot. And go out, everyone, and make the world a better place. You have the ability to do that. You have a gift. You have a spirit. You have so much that people are waiting to experience. Not waiting to hear all the time, but experience. So, with that, my brother Jock, spin the vinyl. Be yourself. Everyone else is taken. See you next week.